Greetings, salutations, ladies and gentlemen. I'm James, aka the Architect, and with me, usually as always, but not today, we have Joseph from,
Hello.
and then we have Arth. I was gonna say where he's from, but I think he'll
It's
take
okay.
care of it.
I'm all over the place, so
Yeah,
there's
all over the
that.
place. And then today we have Arth, twitch.tv/Guja. We are missing someone. He needed a little break, so we're giving it to him. Everybody gets one, so he cashed in his favor. But how's your guys' weeks going? I know I was pretty excited when I heard we were gonna have Arth joining us today. So tell me how your guys' weeks
Hey,
was.
you go first, Seth.
Fine.
Good.
So, it being Monday, my week, it's been all right so far. Only had an anxiety attack for about an hour. They usually last longer, so that's good. Yeah, yeah. We're thinking about moving to a bigger room, just because both my girlfriend and I we do a lot of like performative stuff, and so we're also both self-conscious. So whenever she wants to like rehearse her lines, she's just in the other room. If I hear it, it just completely throws off the performance. So yeah, yeah, we're looking forward to that. A bit of an upgrade for us, but looking forward to leveling up.
Yeah,
Dude, I hope that goes through.
I,
Yeah,
I
me too.
I did too for you. I can tell you when I finally was able to move out of my in-laws' house and was able to, I finally bought my own place. But just having my own little area to work in like this, it's truly made a difference. I've honestly felt better, more so about like my streams and doing the show and stuff. It's been great. So I hope that works out for you, and I hope you experience the same thing I did. Yeah, fingers crossed. What about you, Arth? How's your week been? I know you've been quite the busy bee on Twitch.
Oh yeah, I've been doing a lot of streaming, a lot of different community series. I started up a new thing where I torture everybody once a week. Right?
You
We set up.
started. This is a new initiative. I haven't done anything that resembles this prior to this point.
I, I started up a city skylines thing where every single person, there's 7 of us, and one person takes a save for 4 hours a day for 7 days. And my first city I built was a giant like circle that went around to a circle, into another circle. Then in the center I built an elevated roundabout and then another one up above that attaches to it into 3 to 4 layers that goes out over the entire city. And by the time I was done, everybody was like, I hate you. I don't want to play.
It's actually a pretty accurate representation of downtown Los Angeles. I don't know if you guys ever seen downtown Los Angeles, but
Yeah.
it is terrifying. It's like a Hot Wheels
Hmm.
array when you see the way the highways are laid out.
Yeah,
I was in the passenger seat and I was terrified.
I had to fly. I had to fly into LA and spent a day there. It was not the worst, definitely not the best experience I had. But I have a fun game for us to play later, and I'm really excited. It's brand new. But we can get started into our first story. So
Ooh.
this is gonna be kind of Resident Evil heavy, just because it's like the new kid on the block. It's a big story. I have two or three stories involved in it, but the first one is actually pretty significant. So on opening day, Resident Evil Village, or Resident Evil 8, as its Christian name, it broke a record on its opening day for the most concurrent PC players at one time. And I am getting you that number. So the previous record for the Resident Evil series was in 2017's Resident Evil 7, which amounted to about 18, just over 18,000 concurrent players. Um, this one had over 100,000 concurrent players, 101,726 concurrent players playing it, and that is interesting because Resident Evil 8, we talked about Resident Evil 8 weeks ago before it came out. The what was it, lead director or the creative, one of the creative guys behind it, basically said it was going to be the best horror game that have ever come out ever. And sorry, I just and out of nowhere it got a lot of hype and speed from that, and then people wanted to see a big breasted vampire lady, and some people actually would agree with the fact that it is one of the best horror games. There are some people. We talked about it last week how we thought or saw there were shades of Resident Evil 4. We weren't the only ones to think that. A lot of the reviews are saying it's very close to Resident Evil 4. Did you guys get to try it out? Did you guys play it? Did you guys watch anybody play it? What is your...
Not yet. I'm just like total blackout on it. I want to know as little bit about it as possible because I like you guys. I love the series as well. So,
Yep.
I'm just like, I, I've seen like, I see some thumbnails. I did see there was a video where a guy he's got a fly swatter and he's trying to hit Lady Dimitrescu from behind. So I'm like, okay, I'll watch this.
You know, maybe 90% of the reason why it's selling so well is for the lewdness.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I mean, it's not the first time the Resident Evil series has been, had some lewdness as a selling point.
That's true.
I don't know. There's something like I think people. It's very rare though that that an antagonist has also somewhat of a comforting quality about them because she's big and she's got kind of like the motherly vibe as well. And I think a lot of people just warmed up to her.
And giant mommy milkers.
Yeah. But apparently she doesn't step on anybody's faces.
That's already been modded in.
Okay.
So
that was a close one.
one of the things I'll say about it is that I have never played a Resident Evil game, not one.
Okay.
And when Resident Evil 7 came out, because I have like a horror thing that I do once a week. And when Resident Evil 7 came out, everybody wanted me to play it. They said it was the scariest game that has ever been made.
It's up.
And then like a month passed, and then 2 months passed, and then finally I got around to it. I was like, okay, I can probably play this now. And everybody who said that Resident Evil 7 is one of the scariest games that ever, came out, were now like, it's just Resident Evil. It's just first-person Resident Evil, and it's not that scary when you get down to it. Those same people swapped. And I think it's going to be the same thing with this one, too. It's a really good game, but I don't think it's going to be the scariest.
Yeah, Resident Evil 7, it got the scary label from the one part of the game where it was either part of the game or part of a DLC, I don't remember, but the one where you're trapped in like the Cannibal Hicks family cabin or house or whatever like that, and you have to try to escape from them. That part is like, that right there is what Resident Evil should, I don't want to say should be, but that right there is what horror should be.
Hey guys, this podcast is brought to you by Anchor. Have you heard of it? If you haven't, let me tell you guys. Anchor is an all-in-one platform to make your podcast. They have everything set up just for you. They've helped us out so many times, and they are the ones we are using to this day. Guys, Anchor has all the creative tools you need to get your podcast started from your phone to your PC. You name it, they got it. And you can make money immediately with no minimum listenership needed. That sounds like a pretty good deal, but now you still have distribution. No, you don't. Anchor takes care of that for you. You can be heard on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and so many more. I don't know what you're waiting for. It's all in one platform made just for you. Anchor makes it easy. Jordan, where do I find this? Where do I go? Let me tell you. You can go to anchor.fm or download the Anchor app. That is Anchor, ANCHOR.FM, and download the Anchor app today. Thank you, Anchor, for sponsoring the podcast.
Yeah, I think that was the start of the game up to the midpoint, and then the midpoint onwards was like everybody. Well, I don't want to spoil it, but it switches gears and it becomes Resident Evil-y. From that point onwards, I think Seth. Oh no, I'm not spoiling.
Give me the thumbs up when it's over. Just give me the thumbs up when it's over.
You're good.
I wasn't spoiling. Sorry.
Well, I would have been the judge of that, but now I don't have to.
That's true. I will say that there is a game that people say that isn't scary, and it is the one that scared me the most of all horror games I've played. I've played Amnesia. I've played Luigi's Mansion. I've played I played a lot of them. I just forgot a whole bunch of their names all of a sudden. But the one that scared me the most is actually one that got middle of the road, which was Blair Witch. That game scared the bejeebus out of me every single time I played it.
I don't think I played that. That sounds interesting because I watched the movie. Um, didn't play the game though. So
Game-
With the Resident Evil series, and I think this is true for a lot of horror, is that you only really get one section of the game to really scare people, but you don't get the whole game to do it. Eventually, all the tricks have been used up, and it moves into more of an action exploration adventure style. And that's true of films as well. Usually, by the third act, you expect that whomever is left alive is starting to push back against the antagonist in some way. So you can't. It's just not scary the entire time.
So that's
I
why
think
I liked. Oh, sorry. I thought. Sorry.
I
go
thought
ahead.
you were going to say Amnesia, because I had a feeling that Amnesia is scary the whole time, but no? Okay.
No, it was Blair Witch. It reverse scared. It started out creepy, and then by the end of the game is when it got legitimately scary. It held its cards for the entirety of the game.
Film was like that too. The Blair Witch Project, the film, it starts off like even kind of fun and jovial. They're just walking around town asking people questions, and then they get into the forest, and then there's a turning point where one of them goes missing. And then I'll stop there. But yeah, it's so the way you're describing the game is very true to the Blair Witch formula.
Mm-hmm. And I will say to your point, sorry, Evil Within is like that. You know, like how you're saying, like by the end of Evil Within, you have 9 million bullets. The monster like comes out of the floor and is like, "I'm gonna chase you," and you just turn around and turn it into ice, and then hit it in the head with a sledgehammer 10 times and kill it. You're not afraid.
yeah, that's how.
Sorry.
That's how I dealt with my old landlord. Anyway, when it comes to horror, I bring this up 1,000 times because this is like borderline like your high school crush breaks your heart. When Hideo Kojima got ousted from Konami, and the PT that we got for the Silent Hills game was no longer obtainable and no longer within reach, that legitimately broke my heart because the PT, just the playable, it was called playable trailer, playable teaser, whatever it was, for the Silent Hills game, it was legitimately probably the scariest thing I've ever played. I remember I was in the barracks room. I'd go over to my buddy's barracks room. He had the PS4 because that's what it was. That was the only thing it was on at the time. And we'd sit there and we'd turn off all the lights. We'd order pizza. We'd just sit there and see who could beat it. It was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And that is what horror should be. You never knew what was coming. And it wasn't just like jump scares. It was like, oh, there's a baby crying and there's no babies here. That's weird. There was... I don't want to throw too much out there because I think we're on the avoid spoiler train. Even though it's a playable demo for a game that'll never come out. If you could find a way to play it, I would. They took it off the PlayStation Store, so it's one of those things where if you don't have it now, you probably won't play it. I'm sure someone on the online community's made a playable version of it somewhere, but it was absolutely terrifying from beginning to end. It was a long playable demo, and it was only long because it was actually like a good like you'd have to stare at a certain part of a wall for a couple seconds till you heard like the doorbell ring. Like it was that kind of puzzle. Like you were not going to get it on your first try. Like there was nothing telling you're going to be able to figure out on the first try, and it was absolutely fantastic. But like I said, Kojima got ousted from Konami, or he left Konami, and we'll never see it come to fruition, or at least we'll never see that game come to fruition, which is sad. Because I'd bet my bottom dollar right now that'd be probably the greatest horror game to have ever been made ever. But on to Resident Evil 8, what the consensus is from every review, professional and just from players, is that it's a mix between 7 and 4, but it's not as scary as 4, but it's more
Scary as 4?
Sorry, not as scary as 7.
Oh, okay.
But not as too much action like 4 was. And they said it's a good balance in between there, which is good because if that's the direction that the game wanted to go in, then perfect.
I wanted to just share like one of my own personal criteria for horror is that I think horror is at its most effective when it leaves a person feeling with this palpable sense of dread, to the point where they start to actually be a little bit worried about like going to bed that night or something along those lines. So one character that I think represents this well is Freddy Krueger, because there's a character that attacks people in their dreams, which everybody has. So people can go to sleep and be, oh no, I hope I don't get attacked by Freddy Krueger in my dream. That would be terrifying. So as a concept, that's the kind of character that, or a premise that actually works its way into a person's life. And that to me is like a horror when it's at its most effective.
So I think I know a parallel in games to that, but it's not done well enough. Like it's an interesting concept, but it is not executed that well in my opinion. Slender Man. Have either of you played the Slenderman
Yeah,
games?
are you talking about like
I watched them.
are you like
I
talking about
watched
like
it.
the very first one where it's just collect the 8 pages or whatever?
Yeah, I've only played the revival, which starts with that. It starts it's like collect the 8 pages, and then it goes to something else, and then it goes to something else, and it devolves really fast. Like when you start playing and you're like walking around, all of a sudden you just see somebody in the woods just looking at you, right? And they're not doing anything but looking at you. It gives you this sense of dread and creepiness and foreboding. And it has that, but then mechanically the game just breaks down. And then you're like, damn it got me again. I gotta go get the friggin' 8 pages again.
Mhm.
I think this is kind of a new topic, but it's my show. I can do whatever I want. Onto that, like when it comes to like creepypastas, I think one of the best creepypasta games out there has got to be SCP Containment Breach.
Oh yeah.
I think
Yeah, I've read bits and pieces of that. That's a great website.
it is. It's honestly, if you're talking about like, because like when I was younger, I used to read a lot of creepypastas because I thought they were good. And then if you read them now as an adult, you're like, well, these are very terribly written. Like Jeff the Killer. Jeff the Killer, very terribly written. Not good at all. But I'm sorry for the people out there that like that. I don't mean to be too harsh on it. It's just from a literature standpoint, it's not good. But the way they set up the SCP or the SCP Foundation, it was fantastic with their own little wiki and everything, and it spun off a ton of games. Like that was absolutely fantastic.
Which games were spun off from it? I don't know any of these games.
There's SCP Containment Breach. I think a new one's SCP Lab Rat or something like that. There's a couple more I forget, but there's a couple good ones. Definitely, I think Lab Rat's a multiplayer game, so that's definitely something we could definitely do sometime if you're interested. It's very fun. I'm a huge fan of the SCP stuff. SCP-049 was one of my favorites. That's the Plague Doctor. I actually went as him as Halloween a couple years ago. It was pretty cool. But yeah, we're talking about
One
horror.
small story I just wanted to share before like we move on. We stopped talking about Resident Evil, but like I was playing through the remake, the one that came out on the GameCube, with Jen, and that night we went to bed, and I was so scared of zombies that night that I pushed a chair in front of the door to stop them from getting through. No irony, no joking here. I was like, I'm actually afraid of zombies all of a sudden.
Hey, that's when you know a game's done its job. If a game or film
Yeah.
has made you second guess, like if it suspends your disbelief, it's done its job.
Oh,
Um,
and my favorite creepypasta, I just want to say,
Mhm.
is like one that is considered a meme now, but it was the Doom one, where it's like, John, you are the demons.
oh,
That is my
I
favorite.
don't think I've read
Have you?
that one.
No,
think
it's
I
so
have.
good.
You guys should also look into your favorite games and see if there's an iceberg for them. An iceberg, well, usually people say, well, that's just the tip of the iceberg, and then you see a picture of all that stuff underneath.
Yeah.
Icebergs are these videos where they will collect all of these, the creepypastas, rumors, theories, myths, and they'll go through it. And the deeper it gets, the less likely the people will have made aware, become aware of them. I saw there's one full one for Super Mario 64. There's one for Adventure of Zelda. There's all sorts of ones. So if you're into a game series, there's very likely to be, and it's very popular. There's very likely to be a iceberg for it.
That's interesting. I had to look into that. I love like deep lore videos, even if they're completely bullcrap. I absolutely love deep lore videos like that. You know what I I had a really good segue and then I got lost because we were talking about this. But it's fine because I absolutely love talking about this. I love talking about lore, creepypasta, stuff like that. I'm completely interested in that. You know what I'm not interested in? Ubisoft games. Not at all. Not anymore, at least. So, Ubisoft is known for putting out bugs, and sometimes you get to play games within them. Um, Most notably has been the recent Assassin's Creed games. That's what their claim to fame is, I guess, recently. They also do the Rainbow Six, Rainbow Six, like the Tom Clancy series and stuff too, don't they? I believe
Yep.
so.
Yep.
Well, they're a quote-unquote AAA studio that puts out AAA games, but just like we're seeing from a ton of other AAA studios, they're not putting out complete games day one. They'll put out games day one, and then they'll patch it, and then usually within the first couple months is when you're supposed to get the full game or the way the game's supposed to be played. So instead of doing that route, Ubisoft is now switching their target to high-end free-to-play games. That is what they're saying. So when I think of high-end free-to-play, and the context that they're trying to put it in, is that they're going to put their AAA effort into games, and it'll be free-to-play. It'll probably be stuff like how EA does it with there'll be battle passes, loot boxes, stuff like that. Plenty of in-game purchases that can be made. But if we can't expect AAA studios to put out complete games when we pay full money for them, how do you expect the AAA? What do you guys think of a AAA title putting out free-to-play games where they're not going to get supposedly not as much money from it?
Arth, you want to go first this time?
I mean, the real reason they're doing it is because they want to hit whales. And they want to make all that freemium money. Because mobile games can end up making an insane amount of money off those super manipulative microtransaction, everything. Like, I played Destiny 2. We dropped $60 on that, and we logged into the game, and there were loot boxes that you had to pay for in our faces everywhere. Everywhere we went, we were being told about it, and I was so mad when I was playing that game, because they took so much of the content out and put it behind that. And they're going to be doing that. I mean, to me, it's another reason not to play an Ubisoft game.
EA,
Like, if...
EA's the king of
What is
that, too.
Mm-hmm.
EA
And I
games.
don't play many EA games anymore either. It's too much of the games are getting ripped out and put behind loot boxes and all this other stuff. When, like, there's a way to do free to play good. Have either of you ever heard of Dungeons and Dragons Online?
Yes.
Yep.
Best freemium model I have ever seen. You can buy whatever you want. You can buy the expansions, you can buy the content, you can buy the classes, but every single quest you do gives you the currency to unlock it. And when you get through all the content, you can have everything you want unlocked for your character. And then you can go and you can start up a new character and get all that currency again and go through it, and you just need to take a little bit longer and you get there. None of that content is behind a paywall. It was so good. And I mean, there's more than just that for the reason why I will never play an Ubisoft game again. Right? Like, they are a horrible company. But that is very upsetting because it's not something you can trust. They're not doing it for the player's sake. They're doing it for their bottom line.
Absolutely, they're not. That's the thing you got to expect. Maybe here's my libertarian coming out in me, but maybe it's because I don't trust big corporations or big institutions to have the mindset or the backs of the little people. They're always trying to find ways to line their wallet, and right now this freemium, I believe was the word you called it, this freemium content or the free to play, but all the good stuff's behind paywalls. This is just their way to try to gain the trust of the people. They're like, well, this game is free, I might as well put some money into the loot box and stuff like that. And then it's been proven now, because EA's under lawsuits now, that loot boxes causes the same kind of effect like gambling and all that in certain people, especially now the children have access to whatever credit cards on their console or Steam account or whatever like that, that they're just gonna be like, oh, what's $5 more? Oh, what's $5 more? Oh, what's a $20,000 total? Like, It's insane. I absolutely do not trust it. If the game is so good and you want to make it free to play, all right, I'll give it a try. But the second I have to buy something off of you, I have no problem paying full price for a full game. I've paid $60 for full games. I'm sure you both have paid $60 for full games. It is what it is. That's the way life goes. But if you're advertising to me as a free game, and then all of a sudden you're not gonna let me play the free game because you need to pay for loot boxes, then don't advertise it as a free game. That's a big pet peeve of mine.
Like, what was it? Crash Bandicoot was launched without, the new one, Crash Bandicoot 4 or something,
Yeah.
was recently launched, and there's an ESRB thing now where you have to put on the boxes if there are microtransactions on the game. They announced there was going to be no microtransactions on the game. They shipped it, and day one patch DLC, as you're putting the disc in the system, it installs the microtransactions so they could get past the microtransaction law. The days of paying $60 for a game is gone. Like, I mean, us up here in Canada, we have to pay like $75 to $85 for a game now. And we have to pay for the microtransactions and the bonus contents. And it's ridiculous. I have a friend who has paid $1,200 for League of Legends. I have a friend who's paid $400 for Fate Go on mobile. And I have a friend who spent like $700 in CSGO. Like, right? Like, they're manipulative. They are designed to turn people into whales. They're not there for the benefit of the user. The only type of free-to-plays that I will even give a chance to are low, small companies, because they're trying to build the audience, and they're more honest about what they do.
I can't think of a full price game that I've bought in the last 5 years that didn't have some sort of extra transaction to it. And I don't buy that many full price games anymore, I might add. But there's always something. I'm pretty sure Resident Evil 2, which I bought like a year and a half ago, I seem to remember there was a pass for them for like additional content. Breath of the Wild had DLC. Super Smash Bros. Has fighter passes, and I've always despised that about fighting games, because not being able to access all the characters means I don't have the experience. I can't take them into training mode. I can't play around with them myself, and so I'm at a constant disadvantage to them, and that to me is just egregious. So it's always gotten on my nerves. But just one thing I wanted to say about Ubisoft, and I'm trying to who do I sympathize with? And I do sympathize with the developers. Many of them are just trying to get paid and trying to finish their games. And Ubisoft, I would say, is influenced probably more so than is healthy for them by other companies who are doing the annualization strategy more effectively, such as Activision. They can annualize any game they want, which is mainly just Call of Duty. And they have 3 development studios rotating a Call of Duty release each year. So Ubisoft sees the annualization strategy, thinks that it's effective, and they start doing that to all of their games. And so developers are constantly playing catch up. And so by the time these games comes out, they're unfinished. And so the developers have to catch up even post-release. So for them, I think switching to free to play does alleviate some of those expectations people set when they spend $60 and they don't expect the game to be a disaster. So that does take some of the pressure off. I think it will help them out more in going this route than the $60 route, because I don't think the trust is at a high enough level for them to keep going on with this model indefinitely. They will lose over time.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like you said, they started annualizations of like the Assassin's Creed series, and we all saw where that ended up taking them. It's gonna be interesting to see.
Yeah, it's like the idea that there's like an Assassin's Creed game that came out every year for 12 years makes me not want to get into the series at all. Like if you have like one iteration every 5 years, every 4 or 5 years, that makes a series more appealing in aggregate because each one is treated with more reverence. The fact that there's 15 of them, 20 of them, and there's like 6 movies, they got Jake Gyllenhaal and one of them. I think like forget about it. I'm not
Like, yeah.
investing because when you invest into a game, you don't just invest into the game. You want to invest into like the whole series and the community of it. So imagine going into like the Assassin's Creed subreddit and be like, "Hey guys, I just got the third one where you're on the boat. So I'm one of you guys now." And then you're basically priced out of the conversation.
Oh yeah, especially since, again, going back to the deep lore thought, Assassin's Creed is one of those games where people dig more and more into the lore, and then if you're just a guy casually playing it, you're out of the loop.
That's for sure, because they go like to 11, by the second game. And also, I posted something in the general chat that I don't have the courage to say.
I saw. I do have the courage to say it, but I don't think I'm gonna.
But now it would be like,
All right.
because then you would have to say,
Well-
to quote Arth, because now the context is
Yep.
is set up.
Well, allegedly there were some allegations against Ubisoft. What was it, about a year ago, 2 years ago?
Yeah, about a year and a half now.
About a year and a half. There was some allegations that there may or may not have been some assault of the unwanted touching kind going on within the ranks of their employees. And a comment that was made was that maybe if they were not as busy doing that, they'd put out complete games, which I do agree with. Maybe if they were under correct discipline and correct supervision, that would have happened. You know what else?
Yeah, there was like.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go.
Okay,
sorry, go
ahead. There were. I remember reading that there were like 30 cases, alleged cases, and there was also a huge kerfuffle in the company about the fact that female protagonists shouldn't exist and all this other stuff, and they did a lot of not good things over the past couple of years. And I believe the dude got fired, just straight up.
Yeah, so imagine being that crappy of a company and still putting out crappy games. Like, you don't even have the audacity to make your crappy fan base defend you. But speaking of a good fan base, Valve is a great game studio. They, for the most part, you hear about great stories come from their employees. Recently, there was a Q&A session, and our Lord and Savior, Lord Gaben Newell, was there. And he was asked a very particular question. And he was asked whether we'd be seeing more Steam games on consoles in the future. And in his response, he hesitated at first because, he needs some time to breathe. He probably just got done walking or something. He's a big boy. And he said, "You'll get a better idea of that by the end of this year." Now, that was obviously received by some ooh noises because when Gabe speaks, it's very code. It's very much code. It's interesting to see. Do you think there are going to be more Steam games heading to console? Because you remember, like, what was it? The Orange Box came out for the Xbox 360 and stuff years ago. It came with, like, Portal, a version of Team Fortress.
You've been saying Steam games. I think you meant to say Valve games.
Yeah, sorry, Valve, Steam,
Okay.
Valve. Yeah, sorry, they're same. Same, not same, but same.
Okay, because I know I had to clarify because I was starting to think like, could Steam become available and like Steam games that?
Well,
But anyways,
that is another point that could be brought up. So a while ago, Steam tried to get in, or Valve tried to bring Steam into the console market by making their own little home consoles. Those didn't really work out as much. I think they stopped selling them, or you can still buy them. I'm not sure, but there are certain partnerships. I mean, Microsoft already basically controls the Xbox market and part of the PC market because a majority of players pay on Windows computers and not Macs or anything. So if they could strike a deal with Microsoft, you very well could see a Steam app on your Xbox for these kind of things. You guys, what do you guys think about this?
The biggest problem that I have with it is that Steam at this point now has a history of creating some products and just dropping them. Like, you brought up the Steam box, right? Consoles make their presence in a market by selling their hardware at a loss. So, for example, the PlayStation 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0.2 were all sold at a loss. and they make it up by having their first-party games that give them revenue from the sales. Steam's already doing this. They're getting revenue from all sales. Epic actually gives a lesser cut, but Steam, I believe, still has the majority market share, even after all the, things that Epic has been doing for abusing, smaller developers to try and get a larger market share, right? Like, evil corporations. So they already have that revenue coming in. If they wanted to actually push the Steam, the Steam boxes, they had to sell those consoles at a loss. When they were coming out, they were advertised. I was like, you mean to tell me that I can get a game appropriate PC for $500 to $600 and I could play games on it and I will be happy? And then when it came out, it was like, here's $1,200 for a computer that's half as powerful as yours with the Steam logo on it. And I was looking, I was like, why do I want this? And Steam couldn't figure out a reason to make people to want this, because it was like they were just essentially partnering with like Dell and like HP, and they literally just sold them the license to put the Steam logo on a computer, and they washed their hands of it. And it's like, it's not going to work. They're not going to do it. The only thing that they could really do, and it's weird because, you were mentioning like swapping over with Windows to the Xbox. Mm-hmm. That can be a thing they can do, but Windows has been trying to fight Steam for market share with the Windows Store, and it's not been going good. And Windows has had a history, like with the fall of Sega, of undermining and destroying competition in the video game industry. Like, I believe the president of Sega directly mentioned that Microsoft like undermined the entire Dreamcast console and destroyed a lot of things with them and caused them to push towards bankruptcy, right? So I kind of don't think that they will partner with Windows into the Xbox, but I think they will partner with the PlayStation, because the PlayStation considers the other two consoles to be threats, but they're pushing crossplay with PC. They're pushing all this like PC oriented to Steam stuff because they're getting a larger blowback of essentially like player bases, which keeps the games going longer, which keeps the sale periods going much further. And they've realized like this is a really good partnership. So if they can, I think they're going to push to PlayStation. That's my thought.
Interesting. I actually, that it makes a lot of sense as you spoke about it. I'd never actually thought about it in that way, though. It's very insightful of you.
I think you also will see more disparity between somebody who happens to own a PlayStation versus somebody who happens to own an Xbox. I think somebody who owns an Xbox, they might be more likely to also be PC gamers. I think it's just look at the general demographics of who owns what console.
Absolutely.
One thing I thought would be helpful to point out too, as part of Dreamcast's history, is that I don't know exactly like how much Microsoft undermining them cost them their business, but there was other factors that ended up being fatal to them. One of them is that when they released, I believe it was a Sega Saturn, they pulled this stunt where they said the Sega Saturn will be released right now. Like their announcement for it was the day it came out.
That's
and trucks
awesome.
were already on their way.
I love that.
And it's kind of a cool stunt, right? But it turned out to be a logistics nightmare. Mm-hmm. And so the Dreamcast, which I think most people will agree was a fantastic system while it was around, but it couldn't compete with PlayStation 2, especially in the Japanese market, because that's when DVDs had finally become integrated into it. And so for a lot of consumers who were just like, well, I guess I'll just buy a PlayStation 2 because it's got a DVD player anyways, it was the first time a lot of people were owning DVD players. Mm-hmm. So that was another one of the reasons why the Dreamcast ended up Sega altogether ended up falling apart. But I didn't know about the Microsoft thing, so I don't know how much of an impact that had.
That's awesome.
So I can tell you, like, I can tell you what I know of it, if you want. Is it okay? Because we're going kind of like off topic a bit.
Go for it, dude.
Okay, so please excuse me because you know my memory is not 100%. Like I don't track things. Seth knows that's sometimes not true, but my memory is like sometimes in bits and pieces. So from what I know is that Sega was a failing company, right? I saw that there were rumors that the Yakuza were doing things with Sega, not the game series, but the actual Yakuza were making problems for Sega at the time. They released that console, it bombed. The Dreamcast was their last hope, right? They needed a financial hit, so they partnered with Microsoft to develop the console together and the netcode and everything, get everything set up so they had online functionality. And they had this killer console that partnered with Microsoft, and Microsoft would work with them and sell it because this was their last, their last hope. And they got all the development done. They put in, I think, the majority of the money, and right near the final area where, like, Microsoft's supposed to bring over their half, so that the netcode could be done, so it could be a fully online console. I believe Microsoft walked from the deal table, cut the contract, paid them the separation fee altogether, because they at this point had enough of the essentially, like, how to make the console, how to get all the netcode, everything like that. Like, they got Sega to foot the majority of the bill. They walked away with a lot of the intellectual property and built the console. And I believe the president of Dreamcast, when that happened and the console came out like essentially half finished, he resigned. And he publicly stated that really did them under. Stabbed them in the back. So the console was only like a quarter to like a 50th as good as it could have been.
That's a
And
shame. That's probably like one of the most tragic stories of all the consoles.
Yeah. But I do love their marketing technique on the Saturn. Did I say did I say something about that a couple weeks ago? Like, oh yeah, when I wanted someone to say there's a new Silent Hills game right after they released Kojima, or hired back Hideo Kojima, and there's a new game coming out tomorrow. I think that's what I said that their next marketing technique should be. But speaking of marketing techniques that may or may not be weird. So originally it was just the store Target, but now it's almost every major retailer, at least in the United States. They are no longer going to be selling Pokemon cards. Some places are all trading cards, some places just Pokemon cards. And the story behind why, it is a wild one. So if you guys know, Pokemon card unboxings have picked up steam recently in the content creation market. They've recently started going up and down in prices, etc. I just kicked my cat. And everyone's looking for the big money cards. Well, apparently, outside of a Target, one guy bought a bunch of cards, and then the other guy wanted said cards because he bought the last of them. And so he either went to shoot or stab the guy and caused a giant PR nightmare. So Target came out and said, hey, we're just going to take all our cards off the shelves. You can't buy them anymore. And
It was a gun. The guy pulled a gun out.
there we go. It was a gun.
And he opened fire and it hit the sign, and he got points for accuracy.
There we go. His accuracy went up a couple. Unlocked a new perk. Anyway, so once Target did that, Walmart and other retailers followed suit. This is one of those things that could be good for small businesses, as long as everyone stays safe, obviously. It's just a weird story that Pokemon cards is what's causing violence in the streets nowadays. It's just so weird not seeing Pokemon cards in like your Targets, Walmarts, wherever you would buy them. I just want to hear your guys' thoughts on this. There's not really a point I think that needs to be made. It's just more so an interesting thing that happened this week that I want to hear your guys' thoughts on.
I just think it's crazy to think just how valuable Pokemon cards if I had held on to them, how valuable they could be at this point. I never would have guessed that. Like,
Yeah, they always tell you like, oh, you better hold on. Like I used to open like baseball cards when I was younger and stuff like that. Like, oh, you better hold on to it. You never know how much it's gonna be. And then like about 5, 10 years ago, there was a huge in all trading card markets there was like counterfeit problems. Just the value of everything was going down, and then all of a sudden, just it was like it was on this trend, and then all of a sudden just shot right back up. And I don't know what the genesis of that was, but it's just crazy that you really should hold on to your cards if you have them, I guess. What do you think, Arth? Do you have potential millions sitting in your basement somewhere? Or?
Oh, you want to talk about seeing wealth die? Did I tell you the story about when I was in Catholic school with a friend who loved MTG back in the day?
No, I never heard this story.
He brought in his binder. I never knew what MTG was. We were in like grade 4, grade 5. He brought in his binder and he had everything sealed. And he was like, "Look at this." And he showed me his black deck. And he had like all these cards. And he had like, oh, I remember like it was like a zombie deck. And he had, what is it, Black Lotuses and all this other stuff like all in it. And the teacher came in while he was showing it to me, freaked out, grabbed the binder from him, pulled it up to the front, took out all the cards, and got scissors and chopped them to pieces in front of the class. Because it was demonic stuff. Because Black has, like, demonic possession cards and stuff. And she just chopped them all up. The Black Lotus is everything. And just. And
She's a typical white red.
and she gave him detention for the whole week on top of that, and he was sitting in his desk almost crying.
Yeah, I would too. I was about to freak out. I was like, "What?" And then Catholic school makes sense. It's awful, but I mean, I'm not
For those of
excusing
you who
it.
don't know, by the way, Black Lotus is considered to be potentially the most valuable card that you can have in Magic the Gathering. It's not legal in most tournament play for good reason, because it is a card that can turn a player's round one into their third turn in terms of how much power they have access to. It's totally overpowered and broken. Some comic book stores, it's like a point of pride to have a Black Lotus on display because they don't expect anyone's ever actually going to buy it. So to hear that a Black Lotus was lost, that hurts. I
Mhm.
feel that.
That's how I
And
feel.
for
Sorry.
no, you go ahead.
I
You
was
go
to say
ahead.
that that's how it's like seeing like go back to CS:GO skins because that's what I know the most. When an account gets banned or like trade banned or something like that, whatever skins you have, yeah, they might be worth thousands upon thousands of dollars, but once you get trade banned or something like that, you can't trade it, you can't sell it, it's worth nothing. So
Mhm.
I don't know if you know the story of a YouTuber called McSkillet. Um, I will let you guys do your own research because it's a sad story. But more of the story was he owned a gambling site. He made a lot of money off it. He had a Steam inventory of CS:GO skins worth just over $100,000. Well, then Steam or Valve came out with this policy basically banning gambling because they didn't want to promote illegal gambling or underage gambling or anything like that. They banned his Steam account, and so all that $100,000 worth of skins was worth absolutely nothing.
Oh,
Yeah, and he had some of the
so
most.
if you're Mike,
That's
He was whispering. I heard. I
yeah. I was like mouthing it.
yeah.
sorry.
So he obviously went manic after that because that was his entire life right there, just gone. And he had some of the
That's ten
rarest.
thousand Black Lotuses.
He had he had some of the most rare skins you could have because some of them are like rare patterns stuff like that. Or he had something that would only have been dropped one in 10 100 million, just crazy stuff like that. And it's
Ah,
unfortunate what happened, but yeah, just hearing someone just destroying a Black Lotus card just reminded me of that. It's it's insane.
Now, like at the time, um, Black Lotus was a strong card, but I don't think it had the same reverence that it had later down the line. Which just means that the story will continue to hurt more
So,
as time goes on.
uh,
it will like the opposite of depreciate in
Yeah.
pain.
So that kind of brings
Would
up a question
depress.
here,
Yeah.
back to like Pokemon cards or Magic cards or whatever. With this going on, obviously the rarity of the cards goes up, which means the value of it goes up temporarily. Will the overall value of Pokemon cards go down because of this? Because there's not much of a market to buy said cards, because it can work as like a double-edged sword in that instance. So if
Well, the
po-
demand hasn't changed. It's just
well, that's
now
what I'm
it's more
saying.
scarce.
Well,
So it should
but
increase.
that's the thing. Temporarily, I say. Will the demand decrease because of stuff like this? Is what I'm saying. If less people
Well, I
can
don't
buy them.
demand to have a gun drawn on me, so that does influence the decision. But I just don't know how long Pokemon is going to have this resurgence in value. It does come across as a bit of a fad within a much larger saga. So I don't think that this like semi fad. I don't think that'll last forever. I think eventually people will get tired of these unboxings, but this them not being available in stores will increase whatever demand is at the present time.
Okay. That I was trying to ask more so long term, but I guess what you're saying, like, especially if,
Yeah, but yeah. So the point there that I had iterated on is like, how long is this unboxing thing going to go
yeah,
on for? How long is the I mean, the value in card games is relative to their viability in gameplay or just their legacy, like a Black Lotus. So if you look at Magic the Gathering, for instance, I this is the reason why, by the way, I don't open up boosters anymore because all my luck was used up. But my mom buys me Shadow over Innistrad, a single booster as part of my Christmas gift. I open it up and I pull an Archangel Avacyn, which was I'm pretty sure I said the F word loudly enough to ruin two other families' Christmases. So I'm like, okay, well, I can't expect anything better out of a booster, so that's it. I got my Christmas Angel. Not that's the end of it. But that card was valued at around like $40 because it was viable in the current format. Once the cards are cycled out, their value diminishes because now they're only usable in certain other formats. So a lot of this will depend on how these cards are usable in Pokemon tournaments. I don't know how really they're structured. I don't know if a Charizard can still be used in a tournament. I think it'd be kind of cool if, all Pokemon are equal, and so if somebody's got a Charizard, they can bring it to a tournament. I don't recommend they do. I recommend they take a photo of the Charizard, have the evidence of it, but then just have like, a representative of it so that they can protect it with their life because they will die. But so that's where a lot of this will be impacted, and I just don't know how they rotate cards in Pokemon. So their viability will be a big deal here. And then the other side of it too is, like I said about the clout. Sooner or later, people are going to get tired of the Pokemon card unboxing thing. That I don't know when, but that will probably happen at some point.
So can I ask a question about it? Does Target have an exclusive contract for those Pokemon cards?
no, you can buy them
I
at
don't think so because Walmart
Walmart.
said they were
Yeah,
getting rid of theirs too, right? So
yeah. Walmart said they're getting rid of theirs too and all that. They
So
might have exclusive deals to like certain packs, like certain like starter packs or whatever like that. Because I know like some places might do. I know Yu-Gi-Oh had a deal with Walmart for a while where you can only buy certain starter packs there, but you can buy Yu-Gi-Oh cards anywhere that they sell them. So it might be something like
so
that, but Pokemon cards in general were available everywhere.
this is what confuses me about this whole story and makes me think it's a little silly. And that's that people have historically gone to card shops to get their cards, right? Like card book, gamer, nerd culture, like it's ingrained. If you like card games, you're going to go there. Big corporations dropping it because somebody pulls a gun in the middle of a parking lot just reeks of, like kind of like corporation PR, right? Like what's going to happen? Like what is the lesson that people are going to learn from this? Like, are companies down the states going to be like, wait, hold on, We can get Target and Walmart to pull products from the stores. Okay, when the PS5 comes out, we need to get a gunman at every single store with their own dude with the PlayStation or something, so that they'll pull the PlayStation and then keep the Xboxes, right? Like, what kind of a response is that? It's a mentally unstable person. It is not indicative of the product that's being sold. It's Pokemon. For God's sakes,
There is one. I mean, yeah, it is Pokemon, and so that's relevant to it. But the distinction between a high ticket item like a PS5 versus Pokemon cards is that Pokemon cards do not have a constant value. We don't know what's on the inside. All we know is that there's a booster pack, and it could have something that could be worth hundreds, if maybe thousands of dollars. And so that uncertainty is what drives people to collect as many of these as they can and take their chances on it.
But I personally don't believe that corporations are that in the know as to how it works. Like they're just a selling retailer. They have a product, a gun was pulled in their parking lot, and it became news, and they pulled the product, right? Like if there are two air fryer companies going after each other, one air fryer company could sabotage the other by doing this. Like that is the wrong message to send, is what I'm trying to say to anybody, because it is a mentally unstable person. They saw so much value in it, right? They were willing to threaten a life and pull a gun. That person should be in a mental institution, for a while and get help and get reevaluated. I know there's a lot of so I'm not into the card game world, but I know there's a lot of prejudice between different card game players. Like MTG players say that their events are clean and great, and Yu-Gi-Oh events are full of scum and villainy. Like every single MTG player I've played said that's what happens when you go to a Yu-Gi-Oh event. And then Yu-Gi-Oh players, from what I've heard, say that Pokemon players are a sky of scum and villainy.
It's just the never-ending hierarchy of the card players.
Mm-hmm. And it's like this
Solitaire
prejudice between
players are up here, just.
And then on top of that is Texas Hold'em, on the very top, and
poker is think about poker as people can make a living playing
I was
that.
like, damn Blizzarian's up here. Well, not anymore. If you've seen what recently happened to him, but yeah, it's.
Imagine there's solitaire events too, where everybody just sits at tables and everybody's just playing their own games and no one's socializing. We don't talk to those people. Those people are just out of their minds.
To me, that whole story is mentally unstable person pulls gun to rob person in parking lot.
Yeah.
That's the story.
A few bad apples ruin it for the bunch. It's very obviously this is one of those situations. So I just got some breaking news, literally just now happened about 6 minutes ago.
Ooh.
So I follow esports quite regularly, and this is a gaming technology podcast. So I think it's important we bring this up. So if you guys know Valorant, Riot's game Riot's first-person shooter game.
Oh, it's a Riot game.
Competitive.
Mm-hmm.
Good. I was looking for less reasons to play it.
I'm actually going to start playing it with Jordan soon, because just because he wants to try it. I'm probably going to stick with CSGO, don't worry. So there's this player, his name is Sinatra. He played for Sentinels. He was recently accused of sexual assault against his girlfriend, who is another Valorant player. Whatever, there's an investigation going on, innocent to proven guilty. Well, Valorant and Riot just put out their statement regarding the investigation, and I have the statement right here. Do you guys want to hear it?
Sure.
While the investigation did not come to a definitive conclusion on the underlying allegations, the competitive operations team had serious concerns with Sinatra's conduct during the course of the investigation. It was determined that on at least 2 occasions, Sinatra misrepresented certain facts, made false statements, and did not cooperate with the investigation in a way expected of a professional Valorant esports player. Of note, Sinatra's public commitment on social media to provide the full audio and video clip referenced in the original post was never fulfilled. Cooperation in these investigations is of the utmost importance, especially when the nature of the allegations is a serious sexual assault. The behavior will not be tolerated by Valorant esports.
I just
breaking.
want you guys to understand why I laughed, which is like a professional Valorant esports player. Like, oh, this is where we are now.
Riot has suspended Jay Sinatra One for 6 months from competitive play for misrepresenting facts, making false statements, and being uncooperative during the tournament's operators' investigation into sexual assault. He put out a tweet longer during his response. It is kind of long. He basically just says he's sorry, didn't mean to hurt people. He says he does not have the audio and video that they were asking for, basically. It's just, if you look it up, you'll see it. It's very interesting how this has turned out.
Just so everybody understands why I laughed there is because for a second I thought his entire response was just sorry. That was it.
The first paragraph he came out was like, it's the typical response you hear from someone who is accused of these kind of things. It's like, I've reflected on myself. I'm trying to make myself a better person now, which, honestly, that's what they need to do. But sometimes it's just lip service, and it's no sugoi, as the Japanese would say. Back to our lighthearted topic. I think we're going to finish off with this little game that we have. It's not really a game. It's just me saying funny things and then you guys reacting to said funny things. We have the story of Resident Evil 8 as told by Steam reviews. Spoiler-free edition, don't worry. So these are actual reviews on Steam that was left for Resident Evil 8. And some of these are really funny, and we're going to share the best ones. So the first one is, you know how I said it was a mix between 4 and 7? One of the top rated Steam reviews was 4 plus 7 equals 8. It's just no context, that's what they said. Another one listed history, 10 out of 10. Graphics, 10 out of 10. Music, 10 out of 10. Hot girls, 1,000 out of 10. Giant girl, 1 out of 1. Just... oh yeah, I can confirm that the residents are very much evil. Classic right there. Here's my favorite. This is my all-time favorite. Tall, thick. So I'm gonna say it the way it's written out. It's written in like stages. Tall, thick, vampire, dommy, mommy, milkers. All-time favorite.
The internet. The internet.
I love it.
That's all I can say.
I've been replaying the cutscene of the family catching me and Lady D sucking the blood out of me for several hours. Is this normal? Here's a not recommended review. They did not like the game. Big Lady does not step on you. ... 0 out of 10. I'm pretty sure that was
Apparently that's been modded.
I'm pretty sure that I think that one was Joseph's burner account.
I wasn't the one that linked it here, so I'm not the one that wanted to talk about it.
True. This game has taught me that I have unresolved mommy issues. This one is One Hand Simulator with RE Engine. This one, I think this one was Arth's burner account. Modding is going to be interesting, winky face. Lewd Sisters mod is on Nexus Mods, or Lewd Sisters mod at Nexus Mods is out now. And then the last one is, it really makes you feel like you are in a village.
That's all right. That's a good one.
That's the best one.
This really makes you feel like you're being Batman. This really makes you feel like you're being Spider-Man. You guys know that meme?
Yeah.
No? A certain large website. Well, actually, a lot of large review websites like IGNs and stuff like that. They tend to keep using this line over and over again, and it's just like it's unconscious lack of creativity, which is, playing Arkham Asylum makes you feel like playing Batman. And then they did the Spider-Man one. Playing this game really makes you feel like playing Spider-Man.
Really shows
really
shows you the exaggerated swagger of a black teen. That was a legit review about the Spider-Man Miles Morales game that came out. That was a legit. I forget who said it. I want to say IGN, I could be wrong, but the guy reviewing it legitimately said, it makes you feel what the exaggerated swagger of a black teen is like, or something along those lines.
Dear God. Maybe they get paid like $100 to put that in every review.
Maybe. Here is something that I have to ask you. So I posted a picture in the Discord on the thing. It was of an old PlayStation demo disc. I was gonna bring up stories like if you guys ever seen these or not, but I think we're gonna turn this into our all-timer segment. All-timer, ladies and gentlemen, is the segment where we discuss our all-timer least or favorite things. And today, we're going to discuss our all-timer most disappointing demo to real game experience.
Interesting.
Oh, gosh. I haven't been given forewarning. I don't have that good enough of a memory.
Okay, ready.
All right, go ahead, Joseph.
Diablo 3.
I don't think...
Up until the Skeleton King,
Yeah.
that game was pretty good.
I'm stealing that.
And then you play the rest of the game, and yeah, it just didn't hold up after the Skeleton King.
Yeah.
Jeff is 100% right. High five.
I'm trying to think. So, the first thing that comes to mind, I have to say, it actually came from a demo disc. One of these old, I think it was a PS2 demo disc. I have to say, I like the game, so don't crucify me here. But Shadow of Colossus.
Ooh, I haven't gotten to play it, but I'm gonna be playing it eventually.
It is a good game, don't get me wrong. I'm not crapping on the game. But the demo made the game seem like it was going to be a lot more interesting than it was. So in the demo, you start off with the horse, and you're riding around, and you have to crawl up the giant statue thing, and you have to fight it. And it made it seem like it was like God of War-esque. And when you actually play the game, it's not like that at all. I mean, it has shades of it, but it's not like that at all. And that's the best way I could describe it. But when you play the demo, it's like, oh, this is going to be like a cool looking, artsier style of God of War. And it's just not that. Like I said, not a bad thing. It's just, it was disappointing when you're expecting one thing and you didn't get it. That's at Cat. Cat is choking herself on my headphones.
Oh no.
You gotta stand up, you idiot. Alright, there we go. We're good. She like ended up accidentally hog tying herself in my cord.
Ooh.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the only thing that comes to mind. That and like an old Ratchet and Clank game, but I don't remember which one. It was on a demo disc. I think it was on the same demo disc now that I think about it. But yeah, so you guys are both saying Diablo 3?
Yeah, I can't think of anything that comes close.
Okay, I can choose another one so that we're not parroting each other.
Alright, do you have one in mind?
Yes,
or-
we were definitely not parodying each other, but go on.
No, parrot, as in what was on Pirate Shoulders. Not parodying. Like I'm saying, I was parroting you. But okay. There was a PlayStation 1 demo disc back in the day, and it had this super cool game on it, right? You were a rabbit, and you fired carrots at enemies, and it was first person, Doom-like, and you had berry bombs, and you were shooting your way through the level getting keys, and you had to bounce between platform to platform and shoot everything out on the platform, and the level that I played in the demo was amazing. Don't know the name of the game, but I eventually rented that game, and the game starts with that level, and then the second level is just hell. And that game literally goes from like 10 out of 10 to 0 out of 10 in one level.
That was a first-person shooter?
Mm-hmm. It was, and you were a rabbit, and you fired carrots at enemies. And it was like Doom. And there was another one too. It was also on that demo disc. It was called like Desert Storm or something, and you played an isometric helicopter, and you were like going around, and you were like, it was like an action RPG as a helicopter, and the level you play is super duper duper fun. And I got the actual game. I bought it out of my Christmas money, and literally the second level has you get in like a marine suit and run around a prison and try to rescue people. And if you don't get to the person within 5 seconds, everybody gets killed. And I was like, oh man. Are you looking up that game?
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. It is not easy. Closest thing I've got is Viv Ribbon, which is that vector-based one where you play a rabbit that just goes along like white lines on a black background. That is,
Nope.
I'm not even close. Like I really have no idea how I'm going to find this.
Well, while you guys are finding that, Arth, do you want to sell yourself out here?
1 second, sorry. I found the game. It's called Jumping Flash, PlayStation 1.
Yeah, I see it. I literally just found it too. But yeah. Holy cow, this looks cool.
Right? It looks cool. And for the first level, it's really fun. And for the second level, it's really butt. Okay, sorry. Okay, I have a question for both of you. How are you supposed to sell yourself out? How do you do that?
Justin, do you want to sell yourself out first? Kind of.
Sure, you can find me at Giant Enemy Company. That's my website where you'll see links to all the things that I do. And if you want to see me at my most poised, you can check out my e-commerce podcast, which is Ecomonics. That is ECOMONICS. You type that into Google. Google tells you, "Are you sure you didn't mean to say ECON?" And you can stand up to Google, and it feels good.
Yep. And then
Say no, Google.
You delete Google
not what I
Chrome
meant.
off your browser, and then you start using Opera GX.
We're brave and start generating that sweet cryptocurrency. I got $20 worth of BAT just by using the browser, and that is selling out.
Nice. Go ahead, Arth. Just shout out any social media handles you have in your Twitch channel and YouTube, stuff like that.
Okay, that isn't fair though. That's like prepared and written on your computer. I can't
just
do
do
that
this.
good.
Every
He does it
episode.
every week.
Okay, so you can find me on twitch.tv/Guja, and I play essentially viewer recommended games. Every single person who watches my channel can recommend a game, one of their favorite games, and put it in the queue, and it ends up in the schedule, and then I play through the entire schedule sequentially. And that means that I play a lot of different games. Right now I'm playing Tales of Symphonia, Fallout 2. I'm doing community games such as Dokapon, where I'm stealing people's souls in real life. I'm playing a little bit of CSGO every couple of weeks with some unnamed individuals. And I'm doing a City Skylines thing every Sunday. And I'm playing horror games every Friday like The Forest. And that's what I do. I just do all that stuff.
Nice. We'll have to talk off the record after this. But if you want to find me, I am the Architect CSGO on Twitter. Sorry, Architect CSGO on Twitter. I am the Architect on YouTube. That is the only social media you're getting from me. I also have a friend who's not here with us, but you can find him at Skull Hunter Games on YouTube and Facebook. He streams a lot, he helps a lot, he does a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that you may not see. So if you see him, just say thank you, say you love the stuff. He'll enjoy it. You can find us in Videoland on YouTube and Facebook. You could also, at Skull Hunter Pod, you could also find us in Audio Room at Skull Hunter Podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. That's none of our business. We want to thank our sponsor, Anchor, for everything they do to help us with this. Is anchor.fm. They do wonderful things in the podcasting world. And with that, I have to bid you guys adieu. So hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Goodbye.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.